Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blank, author of the Ancient Illumination series and the Umbani Chronicles, and I'm joined once again by Andrea Rose Washington.
Hello.
She's the author of Adalithia, Elendil, and Almond Tree's Magic. And we are also joined by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
He is the graphic artist, illustrator, and creator of Eve of Insurrection and Eve of Reclamation. He also graphic artist for the Ancient Illumination graphic novels, and he's working on the comics that we have a live Kickstarter going for the Umbani Chronicles. And he also did Jericho's Bane comic by L.J. Knight. We are here once again to talk about Willow, which has a new television series streaming on Disney Plus, and it is a legacy show because it's a direct continuation of the movie Willow by Lucasfilm from 1988. Fantasy story about a wannabe sorcerer, basically, who ends up getting caught up in a mission to save this child that's going to save the world from evil Bath Morta. So what do you guys think of, first of all, did everybody watch the movie first as like kind of like a
Yes.
Oh, yes, I did.
It was
interesting?
hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was funny. I hadn't watched it in a long time. Some interesting themes in that movie. Back in and figuring that it's back in 1988, but it was very much a fantasy romp with comedic uh, things and tendencies within the film. The brownies were there for comedic effect. The two little, and it was kind of weird.
Remind me of the borrowers.
Yeah,
That's what I said. That's why I texted Ron. I was like, yo, what is up with these bars running through here? Like, what's going on? Why?
Yeah. So we basically, that was like our homework collectively to watch the film, so that we, not necessarily we had to, but I wanted to, for us to get the context and nuances if they did drop in things that were callbacks to the film, so we'd know exactly what they were referencing for the Disney Plus show. Spoilers if you haven't watched the first episode, but they casted Warwick Davis as Willow Ufgood. He comes back to reprise his role as Willow. And we also have Joanne Whalley as Sorsha. Uh, Obviously, I think because of health issues, it's probably the reason why we're not getting Val Kilmer in this to reprise his role, because he's got some pretty bad health things going on. So he probably is not in a condition to film. But it would have been cool if they'd have brought his Matt Mortigan back. But I think they kind of brought a replacement in this one. I don't know if you guys felt the same. It's like the same archetype of Matt Mortigan. We have Ruby Cruz as Kit and Dempsey Brick as Eric. Amar Chadha Patel as Borman. And Borman is the one I'm thinking of as a replacement kind of for the Matt Mortigan-like character. Erin Kelly as Jade. If you've watched Solo and Falcon and Winter Soldier, you'll be familiar with her. Ellie Bamer as Dove. And Tony Revolori as Graydon, who I guess is the betrothed, the prince from the other kingdom. And I think the kingdom that they're from is actually where Val Kilmer's Matt Mortigan character was from. That they're trying to marry these two kingdoms. As Sorsha is the daughter of the evil sorceress from the first film. But yeah, it's a continuation. It's kind of weird. But what you guys think about this first episode, our kind of reintroduction into these characters in this world?
Andrea, you want to go first?
Okay, so watching the first episode, I mean, I'm guessing in the next however many long episodes they give us, this season we'll start seeing the true connections to the first movie, because so far in the first one it seems like they gave us everything in the prologue at the beginning of episode 1. Like, we sort of knew what to expect, who the characters were. There was something there that the baby was hidden away. Willow was a sorcerer. Yeah. So we sort of learned everything we needed to know for this first episode without having to watch the movie. So I sort of wish I watched episode 1 first and then watched the movie and then watched episode 1 again to see if if there were any differences. Like, did the movie make an impact on episode 1? And I'm wondering if there's going to be more of an impact in episode 2. Because granted, we got a whole bunch of new characters in episode 1, you know?
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder. I like how they did it in a way to where you may not need to see the movie if to really truly understand the beginnings of the show. I feel like we're going to get some of the typical teenager stuff.
We already started with that. Yeah.
Hard to watch.
We're going to get the hopeless romantics. We're going to get the stubborn teenagers, and we're going to get the realist teenagers who are like, look, this has been my dream. I'm not giving it up for you. Like, don't ask me to stay because you're not my friend if you're asking me to stay. I was like, okay, thank you. One teenager with their brain on their head to understand. You can't just give up everything for everyone, you know? Sometimes you got to look out for yourself. There was some comedy in there. There was family dynamics. But I'm liking the show so far. If it didn't have the humor, I don't know if I would like it as much, but I'm liking it so far.
Okay. And we get a bit of a red herring too in this first episode.
So for me,
I called that, by the way.
What you said? You called it?
I called it. I made a note. I actually made a note to say I'm gonna bring it up during this recording, but then the episode continued. But yeah, I called it. I was like, oh, okay, we know who this person is.
I should have saw it coming. But for me, like I'm glad I watched the movie first because it gave me great context. I got something to compare it to, and so like I think that the TV show does a good job of like keeping kind of this comedic element and this almost horror element to it, which threw me off watching the first movie when the evil queen witch lady turned everybody into pigs, and I was like, whoa, I'm scared. And then like the dogs, the boorish dog creatures, I was like, this is very good prosthetics, and it was terrifying. So they going into the show, they did a good job of keeping those elements in there. I think I hate it. I don't like the character. I dislike a lot of the characters. For some reason, I like Eric and Kit. I don't know, because they remind me of their parents. That's why I like them. There are certain elements that harken back to their parents in a way, but they're also kind of different. I like that Eric is kind of just this pretty boy, and that made things really funny. Kit being more kind of this warrior was kind of a nice juxtaposition. But then I just get pulled out of it because it just feels like Degrassi in Fantasy World, and I'm like, ugh, why am I here for this? But they kind of keep me in it with the comedy. That's what's keeping me there. And then the horrific monster creatures that we see. Yes, Andrea.
Really though? Like
I'm dead inside. What's that? No, I don't care about what. I don't really care for Jade.
But like, she's the voice of reason. Kit's the one who's causing the drama. And like,
no. Kit was wilding. I will admit that.
No, she is a warrior. She is fierce. But like, I feel like Jade is the one who has I have to think about my life outside of you. Like, I need to be realistic. And Kit is the one who has her like heads in the cloud. To me, at least.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I just really don't care for Jade's character. I don't get excited when I see her.
I don't care for Kit.
Yeah, Kit
we agree, and we're not agreeing, and I don't know if I like
Kit. Kind of gets on my nerves. Jade was the red herring I was speaking of, because if you've seen the movie, you see the baby with the red hair, you see Jade. Jade talks about being an orphan and being dropped somewhere, and that her mother and their family all tried to get through this gate, and she was the only one to survive. So I think they purposely did that to try and make us think that maybe that was Elora Danan grown up. I said, I'm like, I don't think that's really her, but we'll see as things go along. And the stuff that you guys were talking about was playing out with the relationship stuff. I do like the kind of juxtaposition and the kind of switch up of Kit. If you see like the kingdom or queendom, whatever you want to call it, is really being put on Kit. and not her brother at this point. And you see, she's the one, of course, who's betrothed to the other prince of the other kingdom, but my boy doesn't really seem to have any responsibilities at all. There's nothing expected of him. You know, in the beginning of the show, the boy's like, oh, he's off hunting. And they make the comment, oh, I wonder who he's hunting now. So he's off chasing skirts in the woods. And everything is really kind of on her shoulders. So she kind of has an attitude about that, which I think is understandable at the time. Like, you get to just go do what you do, and I'm supposed to get married off to some dude that I don't even know. It was interesting.
Because I love Jade. That's why.
Yeah. It was, so I felt like for the brother, he was paying for the sins of the father because he might have had like the same sort of personality. Yeah. But he was the one who was like trying to smooth things like between people instead of like causing the issues. He was the one trying to like save his sister after she made a fool of herself in front of like everyone. Yeah. And then the mom sort of just like yells at him like, you need to stay out of things you don't understand. He just told you he made everything okay with the prince. Like, he just said he fixed the issue that his sister caused, but it's like because he's the son of the man who left, he's like paying for the sins of his father, and it's like no one expects anything of him. So it's like, okay, but that's also on you guys because you guys don't try to do, like, he tries to help, he tries to be the brother. He's like he's trying to say, I'm not gonna leave. And that made me sort of like, okay, you need a hug, go ahead and hug Duff, like it's okay. Because like he's dealing with issues that are not his fault. The repercussions of problems that were not his fault. Like when his sister was like, you're going to up and leave. Well, why would you think he's going to leave?
Like that.
We don't know. We don't have the history to understand why you're accusing your brother of going to leave one day only because your father left. But that's not fair to put that on your brother. Like, you're the one, and then turns out you're the one who's like,
trying to bounce, in the middle of the night.
Yeah, she wilding.
She backed up and was like, I'm ready to go. Come with me, and she's gonna bounce, and all hell breaks loose. I like the updating of everything. Willow, the movie was charming, but it was no doubt that it was made in 1988.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, George, some of the prosthetics are good, and some of them is like, ooh, this is rough. And
the CGI two-headed monster was crazy. That was very.
I think it was at that point the wife was kind of looking at me like, when something popped up kind of weird, she would look at the screen, and then she would look at me like, ooh, you watched this? I'm like, yes, I watched this.
Yes.
But like, I had to. When I started watching it, I was doing the same thing. I was judging it by today's standard. And I was like, no, we have to watch it for what it is. And it's a movie that was made in 1988. So I have to watch it as this is the only, like, at this point, this is probably the height of technology.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to have to watch it for what it is because that movie was older than I am. And so it's like, all right, we can't sit there and judge it on today's standards by standards that did not exist at that time.
Yeah.
By that, so I enjoyed it for what it was. I like the two-headed monster. I like the little trolls. Even the way they did the magic of just making the wand glow a little bit was. I'm like, hey, this was pretty good for that time. I had to get it in my head and enjoy it.
It was pretty awesome. I was like, this is pretty good. That was the whole twirling of the
sword.
No, when I guess the good witch, she picks up the evil witch queen and then like throws her around and like spins her around the air and throws her against the wall. And that looked crazy. That was wild, but like they really put a lot. They could tell they put a lot of energy into like making it a high production quality at that time. So I respected it. I'm used to watching movies that are beyond my time and seeing value in them, seeing how great they are. So this wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I will have to say, I do hope in this season we get to see someone else who is transformed into animal, who keeps getting transformed to another animal, to another animal.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Become human again. I enjoyed that little thread of just like, oh, not there yet, but you keep getting bigger, but you're not there yet.
Don't lose me, Willow.
Go.
She kept getting transformed. That was wild. Yeah, so we get the newer cast we have now. As already mentioned, besides the main cast, we get Borman, which I think is the replacement because we find him in like the stockade or the prison below the castle and let him go because stuff gets so bad. We're just letting prisoners out to fight, I guess. He needs his cleaver. And in the end of the confrontation between, I don't think it was the Bone Reavers that attacked the castle. It's this evil, I'm thinking it must be the Withered Crone, is whoever that Willow mentions. People, these beings from the Withered Crone that comes and snatches up um the brother because I think he's got the blood of Bath Morta. So I think maybe they're going to try and use him as some type of sacrifice. They snatch him. I'm thinking, why didn't they snatch Kit? I mean, Kit was right there too. She's got both blood, bloodlines.
We gotta get one. We just gotta get one of them at least.
Maybe he was the less fierce of the two that couldn't really fight. Let's snatch the pretty boy up.
Yeah, exactly. Get him.
He's not going to put up much of a fight. And so after the brother gets snatched up, we put this party together to go rescue the brother and stop them from doing whatever it is that they plan on doing with him. And then obviously Borman is sent to escort them along with another person from the castle. I don't remember what his name was.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, the Prince Graydon from the other kingdom comes along because his father punks him into going when everybody else was like, he turns to the son like, you gonna just let your girl go and you're not gonna go with him? And he was like, well, yeah. Then it was kind of funny because it was one of those moments where like, ain't no sense in all of us getting messed up, half of the family will be here already. When if she's gone, then I got it covered back here. He didn't want to go. So he ends up going along, and we kind of get this common theme with fantasy stories of this kind of ragtag band of unsimilar people coming together for a common goal. We get the by the rules kind of night dude when he went out was spoilers, y'all. But when he got took out was kind of hilarious. He was talking about how you had to be on the alert at any moment's notice.
Oh, arrow. I died.
My boy didn't he didn't really get to finish his sentence and got taken out. Before that, we get Dove, who's the muffin girl. She
did her dirty, bro.
She decided because she's in love with Eric that she's gonna come along, and then she's like, "Hey, I'm useful. I can cook." She's like, "Well, that's the muffin girl," and then she makes up some possum stew. That my boy is like, wow. And she's like, yeah, I told you. Like,
phenomenal. She said,
phenomenal. Yeah. So she goes along to be the cook when you knew at that point, I think even before then, you knew she was going to be more than what she initially appeared. And that's, later on, it's revealed who she really is once they get to Willow. And Willow recognizes her, which is funny how different she appears now. Go ahead.
It was when she was walking after she didn't die on the tree and they showed her still walking through the field. I was like, okay, that's her.
Oh, that's when it clicked for you?
That's when it clicked for me. So I was like, why are they keeping this chick alive? What is the point?
It was kind of before when they saw them, when she passed through the barrier without so much as I knew she had to be something to her. Before she's walking the field, there's that magical barrier between the lands. Which then it's kind of messed up. I guess so. They put up this magical barrier to protect themselves, and the Nerwins, little town, is outside of this protection barrier. So y'all fend for yourselves and put you outside of the barrier. All the evil and magic and stuff we'll control and leave out there, and y'all can just fend for yourselves. I'm like, damn, that's messed up. Not to mention he was the one that helped save everybody, but you're gonna leave him and his people out there. It'll be interesting to see if they bring back the epithet, because Jordan and I were discussing this off camera before, but they had this derogatory term for the little people, calling them peck every time. It was like the N word for them. It was like, and my boy was like, his horse out of the way, peck, and he would just drive on his horse. and almost runs him
lettuce,
over.
They threw
Remember when
lettuce
the
at
officer was coming through? What'd you say, Jordan?
I said they threw lettuce at Willow when he was in that bar. It was a head of lettuce. Like, yo, y'all racist.
Yeah, they was calling him Peck. But that was a word. Peck, out of the way, Peck. He almost runs him over in the horse. And I was like, damn. And then Matt Morgan was even calling him that. Remember, he said, stop calling me a Peck. And he was like, Peck, 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 Peck.
I was like, oh, that's rude. That's so rude.
What's up, G&LB? Let's see you watching. So yeah, that was an interesting thing. We'll see how they progress it. We know from the trailers that at some point they're bringing the brownies back, because one of them I already saw in one of the trailers. It's kind of weird because it's like a 30-year difference, and obviously not everybody from the old cast survived to now, so they're having to, in addition to give us new roles, so they can't give us all the old roles that were back because obviously everybody's not here. Mm-hmm. But overall, it seems like we all, at least on a tertiary level, have enjoyed this first episode thus far. Even though some things annoy us, but we've enjoyed it overall.
I got to enjoy this.
It was enjoyable, yes. And I am hoping that Kit gets it together.
In what way?
To not be the stereotypical angsty teen who, like...
She's going to get it together, Andrea. You know it's going to happen.
I hope she does, because it doesn't... Starting off, it was like, okay, I understand you don't want to marry him, and yes, that really sucks, but you're being a brat about it, and then you're getting also upset at someone else. And I get that as your friend can live the life that she wants, but it's not fair for you to try and like guilt her a little bit to stay. Yeah. And then to go see her like this, like, I'm just letting you know I'm leaving. You knew what you were trying to do. You were trying to get her to go with you. And even before that, you were upset that she was following a dream that she always wanted because you don't want her to. It's giving spoiled, and I need it to stop.
She is a princess and the daughter of a queen, so she follows that.
It is. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about what we think is going to happen in the next episode and what we hope to see for this in the future. We'll be back in a second. Welcome back to the second half of the Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
And Andrea Rose Washington.
Hello.
And we are continuing our talk on Willow. And yes, Janelle, we were talking about the movie, but actually we're discussing the new television series on Disney Plus, which continues from the end of the movie. And Willow is like old now because they leave out of their kingdom and they go beyond this barrier where I guess not many people have been to, outside of this magical barrier they put around their kingdom, and out into the wild beyond, where the Neurowind, I guess their little village is on the other side of the river, but outside of this magical barrier. And it's kind of funny that they're looking for Willow, and it's obvious, I think, that not many people have had much contact with Neurowinds because they don't know what Willow looks like at that point. Because there's another little person there, they're thinking, and he's even like, we're looking for Willow. He's like, yeah, I'm Willow. They're like, you're Willow. He's like, yeah, we're looking for the sorceress Willow. He said, yeah, but I'm out of that business now, so you can get on up out of here and go on about your business.
I knew.
And it seems like if Willow hadn't have stepped in, they would have taken that answer. Like they were ready to turn around like, well, this is it, until Willow's like, she is who she says she is. Don't worry about it. And then he finally comes and we get the reveal. OG Willow steps into the fore and then off the bat knows that Dove isn't who she thinks she is. As soon as he goes to the introductions, and it was just like, you're Elora Danan. And she's all confused.
Like, what?
She's really? Like, no, I'm the muffin girl. What are you talking about?
You check that birthmark on your arm there.
Yeah. That's another callback. They go, did you notice I think in the opening of the TV show, there's a book that gets open, it's got that logo on the book, which is the same as the birthmark that's on her arm too. So there's lots of little Easter eggs and stuff and callbacks to the film, in addition to what they showed us, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, I don't even know what the character's name is. We were discussing the knight that went along with him. He didn't. I mean, it doesn't really matter because he's like, oh boy, in Office Space, not gonna work here anymore because he's dead. So they killed him off. They killed him off. So we just got Borman and the crew with Jade and Eric and well, not Eric. They're going to rescue Eric.
Yes.
But we got.
I have to say, the funny scene when they're getting chased and Borman is shouting that word, and they all like make it across the river, and he's like, "Oh, what does that mean?" It means stop.
Yeah,
and they all realize that he wasn't trying to go over his side.
So can we gotta
no,
talk
to be alive.
Yeah, she thought he was trying to get him to jump off. She's like, "That's amazing. How'd you get him to do that?" He's like, "Actually, I wasn't trying to get him to do that." Also, like Graydon. Graydon was I don't know what his participation in this battle is going to be. My boy brought a flute. You know, he needs some music. He didn't seem to have any weapons on him, and he was seeing that everybody was getting weapons shot. He was like kind of ducking, but he went to Jade like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, fool, don't ask me questions. Just go." So they are kind of putting this comedic theme together as well with this group of characters. It'll be interesting. What were you gonna say, Jordan?
Oh, I was gonna say with I was laughing when Graydon was playing the flute, and Kit was just looking at him crazy, like, "What are you doing?" Like that was funny, and I was surprised when all them horses jumped off that cliff and their legs were fine. In my mind, I'm like, wait a second, how did these horses survive this job? But I'm like, it's fantasy. There was a lot of wild things happening in Willow that wouldn't normally happen in other fantasy movies, but I was like, all right, these.
Or maybe I was thinking the same thing, but I was thinking maybe the water's really deeper than we know, and so they didn't actually land.
I hope so.
Yeah, and these horses could all swim, so they swam ashore with the riders.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's a fantasy. We'll accept that answer. I don't know if I trust the son yet. I don't know. There's something about him, Graydon. I don't know the prince. I don't know what it is about him, but there's just like something they're hiding about his character. And I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but I feel like there's something being hidden about his character that like maybe he does know how to do a lot of stuff, but he just acts like he doesn't. Or he could like turn them over and doesn't want to be a prince and he wants to be a part of the evil group. I don't know what it is, but it can either be good or bad. But I just feel like they're hiding something about his personality or about something about him that is just irking me. And like the moment I saw him, I was like, something's up with him. I don't know what it is, but something's up with him.
I'm irked by Borman. I want to know why he was locked up, and they have these little nuggets where like he's those other Death Riders, whatever they're called, and they recognize.
Bone Reavers. Yeah.
What they call Bone Reavers. Bone Reavers. They recognize him. I'm like, wait, this guy comes from another lifestyle. I'm interested in Borman. I want to know like how he got to where he was. I want to know what he was doing back in the day.
Is it wrong that I trust him more than a prince?
Oh yeah. Borman, I don't know. He was a dude locked up, and then he's now, he's out here watching his kids. Like,
gonna let me out.
Like Graydon's tag along. He don't really want to be there, but he could have. But he doesn't really want to be there, and that feels highly authentic. Like he's just doing he's following an obligation duty, and I get that vibe. He's that kid.
Yeah. I agree. There's probably something going on with the prince, but I hope it's not super cliche. Whatever it is, I hope it's a good twist that's surprising when we see it. Whether he has some designs of his own, because I think traditionally what they'll do is what it is the king has some machinations, his dad, that he really wants to twist things in his favor, and that's the only reason why he's really pushing to have his son go along with his group. Is why he wants to have him married into the family to make this alliance. Something that the kid probably isn't really into himself, but he's playing along because, like he said, it's his duty, and he's there to kind of say all the things that he's supposed to say for appearance's sake. Like when Kit kind of pressed him on it, he was like, "Oh, it's our duty to, we're going to be running things." soon, and we don't have to do things like our parents did. Like he's going to try and make things better, but in reality, he's just saying all that he has to say to get in the position that puts his family at an advantage. But we'll see. Yeah, Borman, they make kind of a when he's asking when Sorsha says she's going to pardon him, we don't really know what it is he did to get himself locked up, but he kind of makes it seem like cross-dressing was a part of it. If you listen to his dialogue, he said something about velvet or something up against my skin, like or something that offended people. He said even that thing that went down at the haberdashery. So he did something at a clothing store that offended somebody that they didn't like, and he makes a reference to the kind of materials he likes up against his body, and then she cuts him off, and she's like, "We'll give you a full pardon for everything that you've done if you just go on this thing." I'm like, "Oh, that's all it is? Just go on this one mission?" It'll be interesting to see what actually transpired that got him in trouble. If it's just not a reference and they actually give us what that is. Any other thoughts?
I feel like I feel like this show is going to try and I don't want the show to try and replicate too much from the movie.
Okay.
To give us like the feel good of like, oh yeah, this happened here. Like I want it to be because like so with the whole cross-dressing thing, we saw that in the first movie, Val Kilmer's character, he cross-dressed at one point to try to get away from a husband. Who, by the way, how are you gonna sit there and hit on another woman in front of your husband? Like, in front of your wife? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And so I get that there was like small callbacks, but I hope nothing is too obvious, because I think they're trying to do the show. It feels like they're trying to do the show in a way where you don't have to watch the original movie, but there may be like small little Easter eggs. So like, I don't want it to be a complete rehash of like scenes from the first one, but like maybe cute little Easter eggs will be nice scattered through.
Yeah.
Like the whole cross-dressing part.
I'm also wondering what happened to Elora Danan, because she's in the movie she was a baby. Mm-hmm. But on certain levels, she could communicate, obviously, because remember the ghostly, like wizard fairy lady that the Brownies had commanded her. Remember, she was talking to Elora Danan and acts like they were actually having a back and forth conversation at one point, where Elora was communicating stuff about the people that she had been entrusted to the fairy lady. So if she had some type of consciousness that was aware and knew about everything, even back then, like where did that go now that she's grown into adulthood? Because she doesn't seem to know about nothing now.
And can I just say how they made her their servant? Like seriously, like you made this chick your servant?
Yeah, nobody's gonna wonder. It's the perfect cover. She's the servant.
Yeah, nobody's looking for the Muffin Girl. They're looking for this Elora Danan who's got this magic power.
But like, y'all could have made her something else wasn't so like, you serve us, even though you're like eventually you know you're gonna take over one day, but for right now you're just gonna serve me until that day comes. Like, are you serious? When I realized it was her, I was like, they made this chick who's supposed to be the next empress of the kingdom their servant. Like, you know what? You're gonna rule over us, but before that, you're gonna make my muffins in the morning.
No burner.
It'd be funny once she does come into power. She'd be like, "You don't make the muffins like I made the muffins. You don't get to be called the Muffin Girl."
And she like uses her magical power to pick up muffins and hurls them at people.
Yeah, this needs some cinnamon. Wow, there it is. I put it in there.
Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. The Muffin Man.
I am
the Muffin Man.
Get me my muffins. I do think the relationship between her and the prince is adorably. What is the word I'm looking for?
That was comedy.
I feel like they're both on the same wavelength of stupid.
Yeah, and that was great.
But like innocent, like I feel like he really does care about her. She really does care about him. But they're both so naive. That's the word. They both have this naive love. Like, let's get engaged. Yes, let's get engaged right now. Well, I'm gonna go off and fight. I have to fight for him. This is just so adorable.
Are you talking about her and Eric?
Yeah, her and Eric.
Okay.
Oh, question. How old are these characters supposed to be?
They got to be like 16, 17, supposedly, around there, I'm thinking.
I was thinking closer to like in their early 20s. Because it's 20 years. So, so anywhere between.
Oh, then it is 20. Then they're, yeah, then if they said 20 years later, then bam, they're in their 20s.
So, like maybe 18?
19,
given time for them to be pregnant?
1920.
I
feel that.
The baby has to be, the Muffin Girl, Dove, she's older than all of them because.
Yeah, she'd be older than them.
She was already born,
yeah.
Right, sure.
And we don't know if Eric and Kit are twins or not, so we don't know which one. It's never stated because I feel like they're really close in age, but it doesn't state if they're twins or not, or like who's like older or not. I'm assuming Kit's older because she's the one who's getting married, or it could just be because the other kingdom only had a boy, so they can only marry the girl. Who knows? Yeah. But it's not stated how old they are. But I'm thinking that they have to be at least 18. They seem like they're writing them a little too mature for like super teenager, but not mature enough to where they have any real life experience.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't seem to have gone anywhere. And because of the storyline, they've probably been forbidden to really go anywhere. They got this barrier that keeps everybody in, and you're not supposed to venture out because they make it seem like it's real bad outside that barrier. Like once Borman found out how far they were going, he changed his tune real quick. Like, wait, what? We going where? Like, nah, I don't think we need to go. And that only because he was getting pardoned did he finally agree to go. But before that, he was like, yeah, you can get someone else. Put me back in my cell. I'm cool. And if that's your choice, it's got to be bad.
So I agree with you, Rod. It's weird that maybe it's just because Willow lives in that village. He's like, we don't need to be protected because I'm protecting us. But like, it's weird that they're not within the barrier.
Yeah. And I think he sent everybody away too, because there's only him and Homeboy when they get to Nerwin Village. It's only two of them, and I think he sent them away because things must have gotten so bad. Because they can't have killed off all the rest of them, not after giving us that nice, lovely reunion when Willow finally makes it back. Kaya,
like family.
Yeah, they can't kill all them people off and his little children that were there. Like, man, like you killed them all off. I hope they didn't do that. I don't think they did, but
no,
this is a dark, dark, dark story.
That would be very in line with the original movie. We killed all the little people.
I feel like they said they were getting attacked. So yeah, I agree with you, right? I feel like he sent them away for protection.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. I mean, at least his kids got to be alive.
Yeah. Wonder if we'll get adult versions of them now.
That would be adorable.
That would be hilarious. They bring the kids back.
If they annoy him as much as they did when they were younger. Like, no, we're not going to touch the baby. Oh, look, the baby. None of you fall in love with that baby.
But, they did the right thing. They pulled mom. Once Mom's picked the baby up, he couldn't say nothing. He was just, he was a hot bag of air at that point. No one is going to love this baby. And then like, yeah, whatever. They took the baby in the house and it was a wrap.
The council meeting, though, that was hilarious. Of when they're walking in with the baby, whoever's responsible for this, we're throwing them in the pit, and we're leaving, and we're turning, and we're leaving. He was trying to be that Homer Simpson meme when you see him like he's a fan of something, and then it starts going bad. He tries to go back into the weeds and hide. You're not here.
Yeah, as soon as he tried to turn around, they called his name. Willow of Good, come up here. Like, oh, you're caught.
Oh no.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do, what other enemies we get, because so far we've just got the fight scene in the castle was kind of dope to me.
It was nice. It was really good.
Whips. There was somebody turned into a bird, a guy with a staff that did something that I couldn't quite understand.
Yeah, he stabbed oh boy, I forget what his name was, but he was the one that was training Jay to be a part of this warrior group that I think prior, what they alluded to, that they don't accept women, but now she was going to be the first to be accepted into this group. But homie got stabbed with the glowing staff,
Right.
and now he's got some black veins creeping up into one of his hands, and I could see you could see he was leaking under his armor. But he's of course, and my boy, he got the COVID-19 cough, and he's acting like he ain't gonna tell nobody that something happened. You see when he covered that shit up, he was like,
yeah, I remember when they were all leaving to go on their journey, they like showed him kind of like holding his armor or whatever. He kind of gripped his hand, and I didn't notice that like that was the infection spreading, but now it makes sense. I was like,
and he like loudly coughed and looked around to see if anybody saw it, and then like he wasn't gonna tell nobody. I'm like, man, you need to go to the infirmary and get checked out. At least tell somebody something's wrong. So I'm like, I'm predicting now that he's gonna turn some kind of way in the end, and we're not gonna know it.
He turns into a troll.
He is. He's that person in the zombie apocalypse that doesn't tell people they got bit because like, oh, I'm not going to be the one to turn. You always tell people because you're not special.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. That's my allergies. Like, them ain't allergies, homie.
That ain't allergies, homie.
So, yeah, that's probably gonna go wrong at some point. We just don't know how or when, but we can pretty much guarantee it's going to be at a pivotal moment when he turns on everybody, and especially if it ends up being something. Hopefully not, but we know it's going to happen. If they're fighting a bunch of monsters or something, you think you've locked all the monsters out of the castle until homeboy in the corner starts acting crazy.
Starts going in. Then they bring in like the real prosthetics, and he starts transforming, looks wild. Like, I'm scared again. Oh my god.
Yeah, what's wrong with Jim from accounting? Jim, he don't look too good. I'm like, yeah, Jim gonna start biting people in the necks in a second, and now
because he got bit and didn't tell anyone. He's selfish.
Yeah, it's gonna be funny. We know it's gonna happen, but we know, like I said, from the trailers that we've seen. I have not. Have you watched the second episode yet? I have not.
I have not.
Okay, yeah, I haven't either. But I know from the trailers, I've seen one of the old actors that plays a brownie is
back.
Is coming back.
Ooh,
the one that always talking, yay, beer, him. He's coming back.
Wait, the taller one that has the big hair or the shorter one?
I think it's the one who had like a little mouse. I think it's him. The one who had like the mouse helmet on. He's coming back.
Wow.
They were fun. They were really fun. I loved them.
I haven't heard. Yeah, well, we haven't heard them mentioned as Daikinis yet either. The normal humans are Daikinis.
Oh yeah, we haven't heard that terminology yet.
No, yeah, we haven't heard anybody get called a peck either. But I'm thinking once they got to see the Nerwins, I thought the Nerwins was gonna say at least once. I think Willow was gonna say like, "Hey, where you come from? The Daikini people." Because yeah, they stole the baby from a stupid Daikini. That's like we stole them. What were they on, an eagle? Were they riding an eagle when they first steal the baby?
It looked like an owl.
It was some type of bird. It was.
Yeah, it was riding some type of bird. We stole the baby from a stupid Daikini.
I was actually surprised that they stole it and like he didn't just give it away. I thought for sure he was just gonna up and give the baby away immediately, like, or just place it down. So no, we stole it from him when he was going to the bathroom. I was like, all right, so at least you held on to the baby for a little bit. Then you slacked on your job and allowed it to be taken.
Yeah, he was slacking. It was funny too to see the callback to Matt Mordigan with Eric when he tried to do the little sword flip that he was doing. He like twirled the sword and
he twirled around and
catch it. He's like, fool, you didn't. I don't think you got that skill set from Pops. You might have got charming ways and your gift of gab, but I don't think you got the swordsmanship because he was snatched up pretty quick.
Gotta leave that up to Princess Kid. She got the hand. She got the sword play.
It's like almost like a callback to their parents. Like the mother was the more serious one, the father wasn't.
Yeah.
But the daughter was the one who wants to leave, and the son is the one who wants to stay.
Yeah.
Which is the difference of it.
Switcheroo.
So yeah, we gotta. Basically, they've already crossed through the border. They've met up with Willow, and now I guess they're gonna go on some journey to try and rescue Eric, minus the knight that tried to escort them out because he didn't make it.
Rest in peace.
He got to camp one night with them. He enjoyed some possum stew, and had a relatively unimportant speech that died in a weak gasp of breath as an arrow punctured him, and the Bone Reapers chased him off a cliff.
He missed Dove stew. I think he missed Dove still. It's unfortunate.
Didn't he spend the night with them though? When they camped for one night, she cooked that.
She cooked that night.
Oh, he was there.
He survived that.
He did get the stew. Okay, I thought he missed the stew. I was like,
we only see Borman take a spoonful and say, but I'm assuming everybody else, they shared with everybody. So he got his last meal, which was some.
Last meal. Enjoy this phenomenal stew.
Some phenomenal possum stew before you go, before you leave this world. At least he got to eat a little bit. His armor sucks. I mean, Arrow just took him right out.
Dang.
Right through the back. Just didn't see it coming.
Wasn't protected.
At that point, just go to the heart because I don't want to look down and see it. I just want to die immediately.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, that's quintessential. That's almost like saying protect yourself at all times right before a punch hits you in the jaw. What you need to do is block the punches and not block them with your
drop.
Okay. I'm going down. That hurt. Oh, that hurt.
See, I guess for how many? Do we know how many episodes we're getting from this?
I think 8.
Oh, okay. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It was relatively short. I think the next one is like 45 minutes. This one, I think the first one was like 54 minutes or something like that. So it's kind of weird because different shows now are having different lengths. Some shows get like 12 episodes. Some shows only get 8. So I guess it will just depend.
Yeah. No, I hope it's not 8 shows when it should have only been 6. And I hope it's not 8 shows when it should have been 10. So I hope it's like the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
To where they tell us the story. It doesn't feel too rushed, but it also is not like half the episode is a filler episode. Like, well, that whole episode could have been 10 minutes of like side dialogue.
True. Yeah, they shouldn't drag it out. It's also different when you're thinking of like a feature-length film versus episode where like, yeah, you could have cut this out and this would have been 30 minutes, not 2 hours. So all the action happens here and here. All this is some BS you just slapped together. The first episode wasn't that though. We get reintroductions to a couple of the old characters. We get introduced to the new characters, which I think was well done. The fight scenes and stuff that we did get, even though there weren't very many. We got the training session at the very beginning of the episode and the fight scene in the castle where you have those like wizards and monsters coming to snatch up the Eric. And they had that like, I don't know, it was like almost like Pyramid Head style monster dude that got his arm cut off. The big.
Oh yeah.
Thing. He looked pretty cool. So we got him in a scene, and then we got like a chase scene with the way there.
It was well paced. It was like the thing is I wasn't bored. Like I felt like I wasn't bored. Like I said, the comedy really kept like it was well paced. It was a good balance of like comedy. Like it wasn't overdoing it. Like I was enjoying that for the most part as well. Like all right, things are happening. It's not dragging on.
Yeah, shows the pacing is important, action is important, along with a good story. This has pretty much been hitting all the marks thus far. When you don't get an urge to like check your phone, then it's usually a pretty good show. Like when something starts being some BS and you start like, let me see if I got any messages, see what's happening on Facebook real quick, and we kind of half glancing up at the screen. When you start doing that, it's not a good time, and I didn't get the feel for that during the show. So I'm happy. We'll see what they do and see if it continues to be good. And hopefully it doesn't take a nosedive as some other shows we know have done so in the past. Even though I don't think this has as big a following as some of those shows. What are you gonna say, Andrea?
I was trying to remember what the show reminded me of. It reminded me of Wheel of Time.
I knew you were gonna say
but with like comedy. I don't know.
Kids and younger kids.
Yes. They're not completely like, dead to the world. Like the movie, it had a vicious start, but not as bad as the other one where people were getting wrecked by those like orgs or whatever.
Yeah, that show seemed like everybody was already in like midlife and depressed before we even got started.
They felt like 26-year-olds, 25-year-olds.
Like
but still.
Yeah, well, they were 26-year-olds with like the mentality of 40-year-olds already. Like life had just beat them down already.
They've gone through the struggle. I'm really looking forward to those characters.
Yeah. Like, I've experienced enough life I'm just waiting to go now.
Yeah.
Or-
Jade, Kit, Eric, and Dove still seem to have a spark of hope within them thus far. They're trying not to be Borman. I think Borman's the one who's kind of lost hope already. He's been there, done that, and he doesn't really want to be doing this again, but he's been roped into it.
He got the cashmere T-shirt apparently.
Yeah. And Graydon, we don't really know what he is. He seems to be a bit naive himself, but he's along for the ride because he kind of has to be because Pop said so. We'll see what he ends up being though. But yeah, enjoyed this one. You guys seem to have enjoyed it from what I hear. I've enjoyed this one, and I guess we'll continue talking about it as we go along. Thank you guys once again for taking the time out of your day to chop it up with me about these things. For the three of y'all that caught us on live, GNLB, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to the podcast live as we stream, and you can catch us all again. The audio will be uploaded to Anchor, which gets distributed to Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and all about 6 or 7 other places where you can catch podcasts. The Ambani Chronicles Kickstarter is still live, and it'll be, I think we have like 50 something hours to go to get that done. Appreciate all of you that have supported thus far. Can't state how much we appreciate you. And the links to Andrea's website where you can support her and the Shopify for Jordan will also be in the link in the description of the episode. Thank you once again. We will talk to y'all next week.
Peace.